When a young woman walked into a pharmacy for medical treatment, she never imagined it would be the last place she would ever visit. A man stormed in moments later and attacked her with shocking violence. Witnesses watched in horror as he pushed her head against the floor repeatedly until she finally stopped moving. The people outside were ready to kill him on the spot, but one man stepped in to save his life and take him to the police. Hours later, that same man would wish he had never intervened, because after discovering why the angry crowd tried to kill the man, he came to the realization that he had just rescued a monster. On Monday, December 1st, 2025, something terrifying happened at Beke Pharmacy near Total Roundabout in Nsukka, Enugu State, Nigeria. 51-year-old Emeka Emmanuel Nwangu, who was a neighborhood security operative, forced his way into the pharmacy where his 19-year-old maternal cousin, Lovett Uloma Nwangu, was receiving medical treatment. Emeka held the young woman and began assaulting her violently. He pushed her head repeatedly against the floor with such force that witnesses could barely believe what they were seeing. Lovett collapsed, and despite desperate attempts to save her, she was later confirmed dead at the hospital. An angry mob quickly formed outside the pharmacy. They had heard about the horrific attack, and their anger was immediate. They surrounded Emeka, ready to deliver instant justice right there on the street. The crowd got louder and more aggressive. Emeka was set to become another victim of jungle justice when one man stepped forward to intervene. Solomon Chukwudi did not believe in jungle justice, no matter how terrible the crime. When he saw the mob preparing to kill Emeka, he pushed through the crowd and rescued the suspect from their hands. He managed to get Emeka into his vehicle and drove him straight to the Nsukka police station. But Solomon would soon regret his decision to save this man's life. When they arrived at the police station, something shocking happened. Right there in front of the area commander, DPOs, several police officers, and many civilians who had assisted in bringing him in, Emeka pulled out his phone and made a call. What he said in that phone call left everyone in the room feeling deeply shocked. Emeka shouted into the phone that he had found the girl and that he had killed her. He spoke with what witnesses described as shocking audacity, showing no fear or remorse for what he had just done. Solomon, who had risked his own life to save this man from the angry crowd, felt his blood run cold. He immediately regretted intervening in saving his life. Solomon later wrote about his experience, explaining that he never knew the gravity of the situation when he approached the mob. He said that while jungle justice was never his thing, he deeply regretted intervening in this particular case. He described the scenario as shameful, especially since it involved two officers of the law. But what could have driven Emeka to commit such a terrible crime against his own cousin? The answer lay in years of abuse and a dark secret that Lovett had finally found the courage to expose. Just 3 days before her murder, on November 28, 2025, Lovett had walked into the Umabo Police Division to file a formal complaint against her cousin. What she revealed to the police painted a disturbing picture of years of suffering and abuse. Lovett told the police that she had been living with Emeka since 2019 when she was only 13 years old. This arrangement began after Emeka's wife died and Lovett, being a young relative, was sent to stay with him. But what should have been a safe family environment quickly turned into a nightmare. According to her report, Emeka subjected her to sexual abuse for years. He restricted her communication with family and friends, keeping her isolated and under his control. She claimed that he defiled her repeatedly and threatened her life whenever she tried to resist or escape. Lovett attempted to flee to her family home in Igboeze North local government area, but Emeka tracked her down. He allegedly used a gun to threaten her and forcibly brought her back to his residence in Nsukka local government area. He locked her up, but somehow she managed to escape again. This time, she ran straight to the police station and reported everything. The police issued her a medical examination form and invited both families for questioning. When Emeka was brought in for questioning, something unexpected happened. He allegedly confessed to some of the allegations and also pleaded for forgiveness. He promised to return Lovett's property and begged for mercy. Lovett's family, citing that the situation was very sensitive, decided not to pursue criminal charges immediately. They said Emeka had committed an abomination by sleeping with his own cousin, an act they claim is a taboo in their culture. The family then opted for spiritual cleansing instead of prosecution. They believed that traditional and spiritual intervention would be the appropriate way to handle such a shameful family matter. But Emeka had no intention of seeking redemption or even changing his ways. Instead, anger consumed him. The fact that Lovett had exposed him to the police and that his crimes were now known to both families seemed to have pushed him over the edge. On that fateful Monday morning, while Lovett was at the pharmacy receiving medical treatment, Emeka tracked her down once again. This time, he did not come to threaten her or take her back. He came to silence her permanently. When the news initially broke out, there were reports alleging that Lovett was in a relationship with a DPO and that the said DPO was inside his car, parked outside the pharmacy while waiting for Lovett to complete her treatment. It was also reported that Emeka confronted the DPO and tried to fight him after taking Lovett's life in the pharmacy. So, the initial situation was reported to be that of a jealous lover fighting his girlfriend for going out with another man, only that Lovett was not his girlfriend but his maternal cousin, and he had been abusing her for years. Judging from the phone call he made at the station, it appeared as though someone had sighted Lovett at the pharmacy and then called to inform Emeka, hence his statement that he had found her and had also eliminated her. After killing Lovett and being arrested, investigators began digging deeper into Emeka's background. What they discovered was absolutely shocking. This was not Emeka's first serious crime. In fact, he was a notorious criminal with a long history of violence and kidnapping. Records showed that back in 2012, Emeka had been arrested for kidnapping children while working as a driver in Lagos. His criminal activities stretched across multiple countries and involved several families. One of his most notable crimes involved the daughter of Folarin Koka, a former aide to ex-Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola. Emeka had been employed as a driver in the Koka household and had worked there for barely 1 month before showing his true colors. On the day he kidnapped Folarin's daughter, he cleverly deceived the female househelp who usually accompanied him to pick up the child from school. He sent her on an errand to buy drugs at a store along Awolowo Way in Ikoyi. As soon as she left, he took the child to Mile 2 area of Lagos, and with the help of his then fiancée, Patricia Bena, they boarded a vehicle straight to Ghana. The Kokas were not his only victims. In 2009, a man named Afam Edozie, who lived on Banana Island, paid 21 million naira in ransom before Emeka released his kidnapped daughter. Another woman from Magodo paid 2.5 million naira to get her abducted child back. Emeka's kidnapping operation was sophisticated and spanned multiple countries. He and his wife would flee to Ghana, Ivory Coast, Sierra Leone, and Benin Republic, always staying one step ahead of the law. They would return to Nigeria, commit more crimes, collect ransoms, and flee again. His criminal career had started even earlier, back in the year 2000, when he fled his hometown in Nsukka local government area of Enugu State after stabbing his fiancée. When she decided not to marry him, he ran to Lagos, got a job as a security guard, stole over 750,000 naira from his employer, and fled to Ghana. Over the years, Emeka perfected his criminal methods. He would apply for driving jobs through employment agencies, forge guarantor forms using fake names and stolen passport photographs from photo studios, and gain access to wealthy homes. Once inside, he would either steal money or kidnap children for ransom. When he was finally arrested in 2012, he confessed to numerous crimes and showed remorse, claiming he was happy to have been caught because life on the run was difficult. He was tried and convicted for his crimes, but somehow, years later, he was back in society, and instead of learning from his past, he returned to his hometown and committed yet another terrible crime, this time against his own family member. After Lovett's murder, police operatives from the Nsukka Urban Division, with support from the Neighborhood Watch Group, took Emeka into custody. He was transferred to the Nsukka Area Command for further questioning. Lovett's body was deposited at the mortuary for preservation and autopsy. The Commissioner of Police, CP Maman Giwa, strongly condemned the killing, describing it as cruel, inhuman, and utterly unacceptable. He assured the public that justice would be served and directed the State Criminal Investigation Department to conduct a thorough investigation and charge Emeka to court without delay. The investigation into Emeka's crimes continues as authorities work to ensure he faces the full weight of the law for his actions. As new developments emerge in this case, you will be promptly updated, so make sure to like, share, and subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss out on any updates in this case.